Welcome, new and returning listeners, to today's episode of the Black Business Roundtable. I am your host, Doug Blacksher, broadcasting to you live from the city of Diversity, Oakland, California. Happy Black History Month. Today, we speak with a loving sister sharing the story of her sister. Hashtag Justice for Pushan Brown, making a difference for many of us during 2020. We also speak today with a gentleman making a difference for all of us as founder of Black-led urban Reforestation nonprofit. Also, audience, did you catch Dr. Ashley and I on our sister podcast show, 60 Minutes in Black America, on Sunday with my brother, Michael Haney, on 60 Minutes in Black America? Last Sunday, it was an amazing show. If you get a chance, take a look at it. You'll truly be inspired. Well, please double back and check out as the link is in the show description. This is our last broadcast during Black History Month, but it is always Black History Month at Black Business Roundtable. Last year, we highlighted Black inventors, and Dr. Ashley and I wanted to bring that back throughout the show, and we will highlight from dailyhive.com by Elisa Therian, dated February 4th, 2021. Starting with Food, my favorite, Potato Chips by George Crumb. Peanut Butter, George Washington Carver. Sugar Refinement, in Relec, French. And he made Ice Cream by Auguste Jackson. Visit the Daily Hive and find out more Black people who formed not only this country, but created inventions and devices and food that changed the way we are today. Update on the Black Colorado Ranchers by Ark Republic, published and written by Kaya Nyambi Shivers. 10 Toes. There was a fourth article released after February 17, 2023, Denver State Capitol protest Monday, February 20, 2023. Black Colorado ranchers refuse to be silenced. Call for Karen law. And once again, they're calling for the Karen law. And we in Oakland know about that Karen law. That's what started it. In addition, fifth article was released Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. Black ranchers help feed Denver's most vulnerable in the pandemic. Now, these are the same people that are being harassed and bullied, not only by the neighbors, but by law enforcement. Shame, shame, shame. Now, food activists back them, the Black ranchers, who they help in the fight to keep their land. Once again, now food activists back them in a fight for their land. Visit Ark Republic website at arkrepublic.com. If you recall, Ark Republic authored the initial 2 articles that introduced the story that spread like wildfire to a national and international audience. I want to welcome back this week the Living Her Life Like It's Golden. Once again, I want to welcome back this week the Living Her Life Like It Is Golden. Our mental health practitioner and expert. I saved that introduction, of course, from my co-host, Dr. Ashley Coleman, Doctor of Psychology. with us each week as she broadcasts from Southern California, helping us all with our mental health need. So let's get it started. Instagram at Arc Republican. Once again, Instagram at Arc Republic. Hashtag Black Farmland Owners Matter. Hashtag Arc Republic. Hashtag GOVOVCO. Hashtag EPE Cheryl. Hashtag Whack-A-Mole Colorado. Hashtag Save Freedom Acres. Keep following this story because if it happened to them, it could happen to you. Our deepest thank you, as always, to Mr. Donnie Glover of BlackUSA.News for the honor of the Black Business Roundtable being a part of your growing network dedicated to bringing the real, unfiltered news before the news. Hashtag BlackUSA.News. Hashtag Donnie Glover. February 23rd, 2023, noted via the National Day calendar. Today is, once again, food, National Banana Bread Day. Hashtag National Banana Bread Day. Don't forget to use fully ripe mashed bananas. Thank you, National Day calendar. Some current events in the news today. Black inventions and inventors. More inventions. Did you know Black people invented fire extinguishers, rocket catapult, hairbrush, heating furnace, blip, hand stamp, fountain pens, dustpan, insect destroyer gun, cellular phone. The cellular phone. Oh my goodness. A black man created this? Urinalysis machine, arm for record player, doorknob, photo print wash, thermal hair curlers, lantern, bicycle frame, wrench, air conditioning unit, internal combustion engine, wow, bottle caps, refrigerator, fire escape, ladder, telephone transmitter, roller coasters, and can you believe this? A black person created a helicopter, the first one. Credit to dailyhive.com. Sad day in Florida, folks. Very, very sad day today. Yesterday, as a gun violence struck Pine Hills, Florida, the gunman is in custody, but he shot a woman, killing her, and later that same day, for whatever reason, returned to the scene and killing a child and a television reporter. See our Instagram reel. Unbelievable. This week's Black Business Roundtable thumbs up goes to Oakland, California. Friend of the show, local District 4 council member Janani Ramachandran and the District 4 team advocating for the residents of Laurel. Caltrans will now repair the sound wall and commit to implementing a stone sound barrier. The investigate piece by ABC News helps shed light on this ongoing public safety in effect over a year. The Black Business Roundtable supported Janani Ramachandran, and we still support her. And we knew she was the right choice for District 4. Instagram at Janani4, and that's the numeral 4, Oakland. Hashtag Janani4, that's the numeral 4 again, Oakland. This week's Black Business Roundtable thumbs down goes to dun 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 dun. Who made the Black Business Roundtable Naughty List in 2023? This week, we have South Fulton County, Georgia Police forfeiture and seizure of property. See the reel on our Instagram page. This is similar to the story we shared featuring a guest we had on the show in 2021, fighting forfeiture seizure in Taylor County, Texas. Hashtag South Fulton County GA. Hashtag Fulton County GA. Hashtag Carla Hill of Fulton County GA. Hashtag Chief Keith Meadows of Fulton County. Wow. Don't receive the thumbs down in the town. Do better. Do better. You are welcome. You are welcome to come and talk with us about it and make it right. Hashtag BBRT Naughty List. Hashtag BBRT Naughty List 2023. Today's show highlights. We not only discuss the heartbreaking story of loss, it is how that loss occurred, helping others, and whom was left behind, as told by Tina Brown, sister of Pusha Brown. Once again, Tina Brown, sister of Pushan Brown. In addition, we talked with Amos, founder of, and that's Amos White, founder of and chief planting officer of 100K Trees for Humanity, a Black-led urban reforestation nonprofit. So let's get it started this fourth Thursday of February 2023, right here on the Black Business Roundtable, February 23rd, 2023. Starting with a few more inventions, and we're going to go through the whole show pointing out how intelligent, how magnificent, and how much contribution Black people have made. Oh, there she is. Girl, I love that hat. Looking good.
Thank you, Doug. How are you?
I'm doing dandy now. I see you. I'm going to name off a few more inventions. Radiation detector, lotions and soap, automatic fishing reel, ice cream mold, printing press, envelope seal, laser fields, pressure cookers, window cleaner, and portable pencil sharpener. We need to highlight more how many Black people contributed to the advancement, not only to this country, but to the world. My show guests today include Therapeutic Thursday. Therapeutic Thursday. Check in with Dr. Ashley Coleman, Doctor of Psychology, tenure and immediate past department chair, Assistant Professor of Psychology at the University of the West. Hello, Dr. Ashley.
Hi, Doug.
You know, folks, I so want to own her as my own, but I have to share her. This much talent cannot be contained. We have to open the Pandora box and share it with the world. Good to see you, Dr. Ashley.
Good to see you too.
Tina Brown, guest speaking on behalf of the Brown family regarding Pushan Brown that died. Yes, folks, died. Working through the pandemic, helping keep our loved ones safe. Instagram at Justice for Pushan Brown, hashtag Justice for Pushan Brown. And the 4 is FOR on both. Email Justice for Pushan Brown at gmail.com. And the GoFund link is listed below. Amos White is founder and chief planting officer of 100K Trees for Humanity, a Black-led urban forestation nonprofit. Instagram at 100K Trees, hashtag 100K Trees, hashtag urban reforestation. Website 100K Trees for Humanity.com. Email info at 100K Trees for Humanity.com. For all of you who thought that climate changes weren't real, this brother is going to keep it real today. Thank you. Now for the national political highlight. And this is a horrific. The government's response to the train wreck in Ohio has been slow at best. And the videos of residents sharing and venting their concerns is endless. However, this week, the Ohio governor shown drinking tap water along with others inside the homes of East Palestine, Ohio residents looked more like theatrics. Additional Black inventors I want to share with you this week: gas mask. They probably need them back there in Ohio right now, I'm assuming. Protective mailbox, blood bank, improved ironing board, home security system, 3-light traffic light. Wow, I knew about that one. I remember reading that back in school. One of the few inventions that was shared, that was created by a Black African-American person. And now, dun, 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 and now the news of the day. Dr. Ashley, please take us away. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And again, greetings to our audience. Welcome to Therapeutic Thursdays. Our news of the day is courtesy of the Equal Justice Initiative. The daily calendar can be accessed by visiting calendar.eji.org. On this news of the day, in 2020, 2 white men killed Ahmaud Arbery, and the police declined to arrest them for months. And, this is one of those stories that's recent history. And as we think about where we were approximately 3 years ago, this is before the world shut down and before the pandemic as we know it, but there seemed to be several salient events that were kind of pointing towards the decline of society. And unfortunately, this is one of them. We know that on February 23rd, 2020, a 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery was shot and killed by 2 white men while he was out jogging in Satilia Shores, Georgia, the suburban neighborhood he had been living in with his mother. After the shooting, his killers, an ex-police officer and his son, were allowed to leave the scene and faced no consequences for months as local officials refused to fully investigate, misrepresented the circumstances surrounding the shooting, and rejected efforts to hold the men accountable. It was not until video footage of the shooting surfaced and national attention focused that officials finally arrested the 2 white men. Mr. Arbery was a local high school football star. He ran regularly in the neighborhood. And that morning, he jogged past Gregory McMichael, a 64-year-old former police officer and retired investigator for the Brunswick District Attorney's Office, who was standing in his front yard. Mr. McMichael called out to his son, Travis, to tell him that Mr. Arbery, quote, looked like the suspect in a string of break-ins that had occurred in the neighborhood. And these 2 men grabbed their guns, got into their pickup truck, and began chasing Mr. Arbery, who, of course, was just jogging while Black. The Glenn County Police Department arrived on the scene to investigate again, but decided not to apprehend the men, as well as Wanda Cooper Jones. A police investigator called her, who was Mr. Arbery's mother, and lied to her, saying her son had been involved in a burglary during which the homeowner killed him. And we know that in early May 2020, nearly 3 months after his untimely death, a video of the shooting was made public. Again, we know that in May of 2020, we also had the killing of George Floyd. And so thinking about the impact of racial trauma and seeing two Black men killed on film, again, have we been through a lot. And so 74 days after killing Mr. Aubrey, the McMichaels were arrested. A grand jury later indicted them, as well as William Bryan, on charges of malice murder and aggravated assault. In November of 2021, a jury found the men guilty of murder. And 3 months later, following a federal hate crime trial, a second jury determined that the defendants had been motivated by racism and found them guilty of hate crimes. Mrs. Aubrey's mother said, "As a mother, I will never heal. They gave us a small sense of victory, but we will never get victory because Ahmaud is dead." What I do want to say before transitioning back to you, Doug, is I remember that Black men and women decided to honor Mr. Aubrey after his death by challenging themselves to run 2.23 miles to honor the day that he was killed, 2.23 representing February 23rd. And so that was an opportunity for us to collectively honor his memory and to also put the country on notice that we should be allowed the freedom to jog throughout this country, especially when we're not representing the Olympics or a college team, when they allow us to jog in their best interest, but just to freely be. Doug?
Can you imagine the psychological effect on kids all across this country? Mm-hmm. Living in predominantly white neighborhoods after that after that crime. Mm-hmm. And it's not alleged anymore because they were convicted and they are serving time. Good for you, Georgia, for holding these men accountable for that horrific murder. Thank you, Dr. Ashley.
Thank you.
Before Dr. Ashley gets into it, I want to shoot out some more names of Black inventions. Mm-hmm. Automatic elevator doors, color IBM PC monitor, and the gigahertz chip. Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure that we keep resonating all these things that were created by Black people, so Black people know. If you didn't know, now you know. We have been a big part of history. It's just not always written in the books that you read in the schools that you attend, and it's shameful. And I'm praying that changes. After that, I'm going to need some therapy. Weekly, I'd like to say our weekly check-in with our very own, once again, my friend, my colleague, my friend of, now we have a new friend, and he's always been our friend and brother, Michael Haney. Dr. Ashley and I was on his show this Sunday, 60 Minutes in Black America. And let me tell you, folks, it was a magnificent, we had a magnificent time. That's what you call East Coast, West Coast getting together. Unlike the Biggie and was it the Tupac and Biggie? No, we are going to start uniting coast to coast. We want to make sure that together we can make a difference. To that end, I would like for our weekly check-in with our very own Dr. Ashley Coleman, Doctor of Psychology. Dr. Ashley, woosah. Take us away, sister. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to Therapeutic Thursday, family. So happy to be with you again. Today, as Doug mentioned, we're going to have a wonderful opportunity to sit with the family member of a woman who made the ultimate sacrifice. And so we're going to be honoring Pushan, and we're going to be honoring first responders and talking about what happens, kind of this theme, what happens when we make decisions in the betterment of other people, but how are Black men and Black women protected? I wanted to pivot because we've been talking about trauma, and it's important for us to talk about exactly what's going on in society. But there are two also Black women. I want to honor them and say their names today as we talk about contributions that women have made to society and also the ultimate sacrifices. So, the first name that I want, and again, you know, I'm an associate tenured professor. So, here's your pop quiz. I want to know, has anyone heard the name Dr. Marion Croak? Okay. Dr. Marion Croak is responsible for our ability to actually use Zoom and any type of talk to text technology. She is the great class of 1977. She has over 200 patents in this country. She spent her lifetime inventing. After graduating from Princeton University and earning her doctorate at USC, she worked at Bell Labs Nokia in New Jersey, which later became AT&T, and is now the vice president of engineering at Google. Again, she has over 200 US patents, with being one of the first two Black women to be inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Among her inventions is the text to donate function that her team helped create in the wake of Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Because of her invention, millions of dollars were able to be raised. Additionally, she leads the Research Center for Responsible AI and Human-Centered Technology at Google, which ensures that artificial intelligence and machine learning positively impacts users and the world, particularly marginalized communities. I wanted to highlight Dr. Croak's name because, again, as we've talked about what happened during this pandemic, those of us who are privileged to be able to work from home and coordinate care, but also expedite services that were needed to sustain this country. It was based on the brilliance of Dr. Croak and her team that was able to develop what's called voice over internet protocol. So that VoIP technology, again, helps us make calls over the internet instead of a phone line. So I wanted to acknowledge Dr. Croak and give her her flowers now. I'd also like to lift up Dr. Eliza Ann Greer. She was an emancipated slave and the first African American woman licensed to practice medicine in Georgia. It took her 7 years to complete her medical education because she alternated each year of school with a year of picking cotton to pay her tuition. This is Dr. Eliza Ann Greer. We've talked many times about our resilience in our communities. And these two titans that I just referenced, Dr. Croak, Dr. Greer, thankfully, it's because of people preserving history and saying their names and letting their legacies continue on that I was able to learn about them more recently. When is the last time that you have recognized your own resilience or the resilience and brilliance in your own family? Now is a great time to get that history, to check in with family members, but also just to honor yourselves and honor your loved ones. We are still in the pandemic. We're in season 4 of the pandemic, like that. I like to say I'm almost at the 3-year mark. But I just thought this is a great time in February to tap into and recognize progress, greatness, brilliance, innovation, and to pass down those legacies. As always, it's also a great time to do a mental health check-in with yourself, to find safe spaces where you can talk about what's going well, and to also de-stress. If you or a loved one is considering therapy, there's therapy for blackgirls.com, therapyforblackmen.org. And if you need urgent support for yourself or for a loved one, you can always go to the nearest emergency room. You can dial 988, and you can also text 741-741 if that's your preferred mode of communication.
Audience, let me be clear here. Just as you would have a broken leg, you would go see a medical doctor. If you had a cavity that was causing your face to become looking like the elephant man, you'd go see a dentist. When you have a splinter in your brain, suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety, please go see a doctor of psychology. Thank you. I want to cite off a few more inventors so we can get into this dynamic, awesome, and amazing guest that we have coming up, Miss Tina Brown. Black inventions, automatic gear shift, clothes dryer, lawnmower. Ooh, I hate the lawnmower. I gotta cut my grass. Modern toilet, reversible baby stroller, airplane propeller, biscuit cutter. Now I love him for that because my grandmother made a hell of a biscuit. Buttermilk biscuit at that. Coin changer, rotary engine, and car coupler. On that note, I am ready, I am excited, and I see her backstage, and I can't wait. Audience, this is going to be a dynamic show, and for those of you who have friends and loved ones who work for these big companies who fail their employees, you want to refer them back to this story. We want to welcome Tina Brown, the sister of Pushan Brown. Dr. Ashley, please read this woman's story so we can get this party started. Thank you.
No, thank you. Get your tissues ready and your social media ready to pass on this story. And please hashtag justice for Pushan Brown. Pushan, lovingly known as Pooh Bear, suddenly passed away, and we will share her story today through her sister, Miss Tina Brown.
Well, let me be clear, audience. We need to extend our condolences out to the family and to Pushan Brown and let her know that we got her back. And thank you for being here today. Sister, we want you to share with our audience who's not just here in Oakland and in the county of Alameda and in the state of California, but all across this nation. We have been on air for 2 years, shining light on devastating events, horrific events that have destroyed Black families. And today, we honor you for coming on in Black History Month and sharing your story to us and with us. We extend our condolences to you, your mother, and Sean's daughter. And I have a 27-year-old daughter, and I couldn't imagine her without me. I couldn't even imagine that. And I have to take a gasp when I say that because my daughter is the light of my life. And I hope I'm the light of her life. I'm pretty sure I am. But thank you for being here today. We reached out to you and our producer. We want to give her a big round of applause. She has been an outstanding researcher, pulling stories that have been tucked away in the archives of this country because they ought to be shaming themselves. Multi-million billionaires who have the money to cover up. And that's what it is. Let's just break it out. It's a cover-up. It's a cover-up. So thank you for being here today. We extend our condolences out. We reached out to you after seeing your story on Instagram at Justice for Pushan Brown. Dr. Ashley, can you fire off the first question, please? Because I have to get some tissue. Dr. Ashley, please.
I will. And I joined Tina. Thank you for being here. I joined Doug in expressing my condolences.
Thank you.
I want to give you an opportunity to share your sister's story in your own words.
Okay. I'm not quite sure how much people know, but let me tell you, for those who know and those who don't know, my sister worked at Amazon. She started off as in 2018, started off as a driver, late 2018, and then in 2020, she was working in a warehouse, and she was assigned to the safety COVID department, where she was shown by a supervisor how to stick Q-top swabs up other Amazon employees' nose and COVID test them for COVID. Not knowing whoever she tested, if they came back positive or negative, she did not know. She was not a nurse. She wasn't a doctor. Neither was the person who trained her. And she did this from Sunday through Thursday, from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. I'm sorry, 6 p.m. She tested other Amazon employees and Amazon workers. She was not a licensed professional. We are talking about a company that makes $1.9 billion a day, who could have hired nurses and doctors to come in there and COVID test. This is an indirect murder. I have to change a couple things around on the links and stuff, because this is after, like I said, the first year of my life when my sister died, I was running for my life. I was confused. I was stressed. I was depressed. I didn't think I was going to make it. Now, 2022, I'm like, okay, came back. Like, now I'm just shaking. I'm rocking. I'm hitting anything in the way, because excuse my language, I don't give a damn. This was a murder. This was a murder. A murder is a murder, whether it was indirect, whatever, it was a murder. And it's hard, because every single day is somebody who's going to get up to work tomorrow and be made to do something that they have no business doing, that they're not qualified or certified to do. Their employee is going to put them in a position, and they're going to do it because they don't want to lose their job. And who gets arrested for indirect murder? Who does it? Who goes to jail for indirect murder? I'm noticing that a lot of people don't care about indirect murders how they would care about a murder that's caught on camera, a police murder, a shooting. A lot of people don't care about an indirect murder. So this is something new to me that I'm learning, but I care. I cannot I cannot make myself stop caring. I'm going to get justice for my sister. And after I get justice, I'm going to fight for people like me who there are indirect murders that happen every single day with corporate America, and people don't give a damn about it. They go on about their business. This man made the most money he's ever made in his life, and then he went to the moon, and he thanked everybody. And I don't know what, I'm wondering if it was his son, because I know he has a son who goes, I think he goes to Princeton in New Jersey. I wonder what he would do if it was his son. I wonder what he would do if he didn't have all his trillions, and his son had to go out here and work a regular job, and somebody put his son in a position to pay for his schooling or to take care of his child, what he would do. It's hard for people to put themselves in other people's shoes, because I feel some people are upset with me. They're trying to punish me. The company's trying to punish me and fight me so hard because I just want fucking justice for my sister. Because you murdered her, and now I'm supposed to just shut up and go on about my business because it doesn't matter, because it wasn't on camera, because we don't know who issued it. No, I'm not going on no fucking where. I'm not going on nowhere. The only place I'm going is to the motherfucking courthouse. And if I gotta go to Supreme Court, I'm gonna keep going, because the world needs to know about this. Everyone needs to know that these people at Amazon, the richest company in the world, had people illegally COVID testing that was not medical professions. Everyone needs to know about that, because if it could have been your mother, it could have been your sister, it could have been your daughter. So at this point, You know, I'm a respectful person. You know, I move and respect. Somebody say, oh, if you want to say F their face, those. No, I don't want to say fuck him. I want to say fuck his lawyers. Because his lawyers are lying liars who love to lie. I'm telling you. I can't get into too much, but I have never in my life seen anything like this before. I have never seen anything like this before. They are just together. They like run neck to neck. I mean, they will sell their souls to win. They will sell their souls to win.
I'd like to ask, how's the little girl doing? How old is she, and how is she doing?
Okay, she's 14 now, and she is. I don't want to get emotional because that's my baby. She's doing better than me. She has her days.
Has anything been done by this company to take care of this child in absence of her mother and in light of their negligence, what appears to be negligence and her death?
Okay, besides threatening me, besides slandering me, sabotaging me, weekly threats from the lawyers, you mean positive? Which one?
Any help, you know?
No. Just in the beginning, they offered 6 weeks of counseling. But now they're saying they don't even know anybody named Pushawn Brown. Pushawn never worked for the company. They don't even know who I'm talking about.
Wow. What personal protective gear or PPE
None.
has
None. I'm gonna stop you now, none, Doug, because I'm gonna tell you why. This was a warehouse. Amazon is listed as a retail store. Amazon is not a retail store. Amazon, I don't know if any of you have ever been in a warehouse. I used to work for Amazon too, but I never worked there. They don't know anybody by the name of me or anybody the name of Pushawn Brown. Amazon is a warehouse. People in Amazon, 88% of Amazon workers are critically injured every day. And we're talking about worldwide. They have $1 billion lawsuit against them right now. Out of UK, they're on strike. Every day you hear something in the news about Amazon. Amazon is listed as a retail company. That is a warehouse. There are, it's like a construction place. You need to wear a hard hat in Amazon. There's no PPE. You took package handlers and package sorters and delivery drivers, and you said you're going to be a nurse today, you're going to be a doctor today, you're going to be an RN today, you're going to be an LPN today. Everybody's in there doing stuff they have no business doing. Administrating and demonstrating COVID tests when there was not even no vaccine out, no gloves, inside the building, right next to the break room. I don't know. I'm confused because, like I said, I work for Amazon, but we don't work there. They don't know her. They don't know me. There was no protective anything. They were being tested inside, and not only were they being tested inside, these were regular people who came to work to sort packages, to be stowers, to be pickers, to work the conveyor belt. What did they know about putting anything in anybody's nose, let alone health, safety? What did they know about that? Why did you have these people taking temperatures? They're not nurses and they're not doctors.
Right.
Dr. Ashley, can you ask the next question, please?
I will, but before I do that, I want to validate that your emotions are valid, Tina, and I'm quiet for many reasons. One, you deserve to be heard, and I'm bearing witness to your story.
Thank you.
But in full transparency, one of my closest friends was working in the warehouse of that company. And I remember being on the phone with them and hearing in terror the things and validating the things that you were saying, the lack of protection, the sense, and they were talking about at a time when we didn't have much information about this virus. And it came down to, as you mentioned, that life or death, that survival of, do I leave my employment? What will this mean for me? And so I just wanted to validate. So I'm having what we call a visceral reaction.
Thank you.
And one, the outrage that we both, Doug and I both, share with you that this happened. And there's so many stories that have been unheard as well. But they did try to do some publication. We saw here in the GoFundMe that there was like a snippet where it was announced on the news that this that, the company had an employee that passed the COVID, and now we understand the numbers are upwards of 2,000 employees. But what we found is that they didn't really publicize what happened with your sister.
Oh, well, it's way more than 2,000 employees at Amazon that died of COVID. Way more. We're talking over, I want to say 30, 40,000 employees worldwide that died of COVID, but they're not going to tell you that. And not only are they not going to tell you that, they're not going to say anything about Pouchon, because they're now saying that Pouchon didn't never work for them. Pouchon was never employed by them. They don't know anyone by the name of Pouchon Brown. We don't know who you're talking about. But I don't know, because you offered me 6 weeks of counseling, and you sent a nice little, "Oh, we're so sorry" envelope, and if there's anything we can do, let you know. So they don't know her. They don't know her, and they don't know me. They just let a random stranger in their building for 4 years. They sent emails back and forth to a person and allowed a person to email them and complain about the work conditions for since March. But they don't know her. They direct deposit in her account. Amazon gave out free money, but they don't know her. I mean, it's a lot of things that I can't really say, because like I said, anything I say can will be used against me in a court of law. They're watching. They love to watch. So at the end of the day, they don't know her. They don't know her. And but I know her. I know her very well. I'm the one who got her the job there. She started a week before I started. And I'm gonna make sure that when this is all over with, they know her and the whole world knows her, because it's disgusting.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Twofold. One, we want to get to know her. So my first question, and Doug, bear with me, is tell us about her and her spirit.
Okay, so I never called it Pouchon. So it's like, when you have a name, people call you a name when you're in trouble. So that's when you're like, so I never called it Pouchon. I'm thinking never in my, probably like maybe 1 or 2 times. We never got in a fight or anything like that. So I would call her Pooh. I would call her Pooh Aduki. We all did. And Dukes she was the sweetest thing. And I mean, I'm really not saying this because she was my sister. She was the sweetest thing. And I'm so thankful. And I thank God every single day when I wake up and every single night when I go to sleep that I was able to meet, and he allowed me to share her as a sister. He allowed to bring her into my life, because she was sensational. It's nothing in this world that she didn't do for me, and it's nothing in this world that I didn't do for her and that I'm not going to do for her. That was my baby. That was my baby sister. She would make you anything. She would do anything. She would do anything. It's nothing in this world she wouldn't do for anyone. She was caring, she was compassionate, she was the best mom. She was the best mom to my niece. Just had one child. She was the best mom to her. She was a good daughter. She was my mom's baby. She was my mom's baby. I'm not her baby, but that was my mom's baby, and she was my baby. And Duke's anything. She could make you anything. She could cook you anything. She could put anything together. She knew a lot about everything. She knew how to work every shift in that warehouse.
Wow.
Ask me how I know. I only know how to work one, and that was my shift.
Right.
She never said no. She never said no. She wanted to learn. She wanted to learn. She wanted to learn. There was nothing that she couldn't fix. I say, I don't know how to work this. Can you put this together? I need you to put my bed together. She would come right up there and do it. She was the only one that could change a tire. I still don't know how to change a tire. When my dad was teaching us how to change tires, I don't know what I was doing, but she learned. She was just like that. Not just because she was my sister, but if you had her, she was a friend for life. She was a friend for life. She's somebody that you could call at any time of the hour, and she would answer the phone. She would answer the phone and say, "What's going on? What you need?" "All right, I'm on my way. I'm broke down on the side of the road. I'm on my way. My tire. I'm on my way. I'm gonna come sit with you until AAA comes." That was my baby. She was everything to me. She was everything to me. It's not a second that don't go by I don't think about her. I dedicate, since my sister died, I dedicate my whole life to her, and I made a promise I'm going to continue to my last breath to dedicate my life to her. to make every promise to her, to keep every promise I made to her. I'm going to make sure my niece never has a want in the world for anything, for nothing. I'm going to get justice for my sister. It's no other way. It's no other way around it. This is so serious to me. It's serious to me. My sister's not here. Life has been gone. I'm so serious about this. I'm willing to die behind this. I'm willing to die for my sister. I'm never going to see my sister again. My sister was taken. She was taken before her time, and she didn't have to. She didn't work at a hospital. And my heart goes out to all of those doctors and nurses that went in there every single day, and they worked through the pandemic. My sister had a degree in human resources. She had no business being put in that position. And I don't know what anybody wants me to do. And I don't know. And going through this, Dr. Ashley, I see people like, everybody say, oh my God, you're going to get the monsters company. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Listen, I don't know any other way around it. I don't know any other way to do. I don't care who it would have been. I don't care if they are 1,000,000 feet tall. I don't care. You took something of mine. I got to watch what I say, but you took something of mine. No, that's not going to be okay for me. Because if it was his son, what would he do? How would he feel? And people need that when they start asking these questions that are, well, I just don't understand. And I don't understand. Well, listen, it's not too much hard to understand. If a person is COVID testing every single damn day and they're being put in a position by their employer, what do you think is going on? If you just start going around doing surgeries on people and you're not no surgeon, what you think will happen? That person died, what you think will happen? You're not going to go to jail? You're not going to be held responsible? I just don't know what people want me to do. And quite frankly, I think the first year I was sad. I was depressed. The second year, I was still kind of confused. But this year, I'm all good around. I want justice. I'm going to get it. It ain't no way around it. Somebody took something from me. And I don't know about anybody else. I do not know what anybody else is willing to do for theirs. But I'm willing to die for my sister. I'm willing to die behind this. Somebody took something from me. And it ain't no way around it. It's not fair. It's not right.
Tina, first of all, I can tell that Pushan was a one of one. Let me say the first thing. Secondly, as you mentioned with first responders, we take an oath, which means informed consent, meaning we know what we're signing up for with all the information. And in that role, we understand what could happen in that role. And that's something that's standing out in this story. When we don't have informed consent, it's coercion. Under duress, when we're asked to do things that are outside of our role. Absolutely. But I want to ask you if it's okay for you to share with our audience what happened on the day that your sister passed.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to jump to the day before because that's important. Okay. January 7th. Okay. I'm going to tell you January 6th, we were, they had the riots going on. We were down here doing a whole bunch of stuff. So that had people were kind of outshadowed by that because that was on the news. People down there doing stuff that they had no business doing or whatever. So I remember that day, the governor issued a state of emergency and everyone had to be, we had a curfew. So everybody had to be home by a certain time. So she was still at work and I asked her, I said, are you going to leave? She wasn't feeling well. And I said, you need to leave anyway. You're not feeling well. She was like, no, there's nobody to cover me. I can't leave. I asked, I'm not going to say the name, but I have to be here. So I said, okay. So I said, well, did you tell me you weren't feeling well? And she said, yes. And so she said, well, I'm off on Friday. So, and I said, well, why don't you just, it's a lot that I can't say, but let me go to the 7th. So the 7th, she was very, very, she wasn't feeling well. She still came in sluggish, all kinds of stuff. Me and her, bop. Cause I'm like, you need to leave. You need to leave. She asked at 4:30, could she go home? And she was told by a certain person, I can't say too much. No, she couldn't. It was like 4:39. She didn't have any PTO, so you don't have no PTO, she had to stay. So she left work at about 6:30. I want to say
explain to our audience what PTO is.
Oh, personal time off.
Thank you.
Personal time off, yeah. So, because Amazon is a computer system, so when you call in and stuff, you're not talking to a regular person. You're talking to a computer system. So, doctor's notes and stuff like that. Like this is another thing about Amazon. So I don't even know if we have enough time. Amazon is such even though they have money, it's such a cheap company. Their stuff is in the Philippines. So when you speak into people in the Philippines and you're sending doctor's notes and you're doing all of this stuff, like when I called in when I called in the HR and told them my sister had passed, I was talking to somebody in the Philippines. They still called me on Sunday and said, why is your sister not at work? She's never missed a day. She was a good employee. I said, my sister died. I called you guys on Friday and I told you. Oh, we didn't know. So the whole thing is computerized. It's people in the Philippines, because Jeff Bezos loves to save money. I guess he can pay them, $5-6 an hour or whatever the hell he chooses to pay them. And they're over there. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Excuse my language. So everything's computerized. So if you send in a doctor's note, it's when they want to upload it or whatever, because that can run into your PTO, because you only get a certain amount of points. So it's whenever they want to do it, if they do get it, if they don't get it. So then that's how people lose a lot of, that's how you hear a lot about people, Amazon firing people, because it's not them, it's the computers that's firing people. You know what I'm saying? So make a long story short, she didn't have any PTO, Doug. So PTO is personal time off, and everything's a point system at Amazon. It's all computerized, run computerized. So she had to stay. So that night she went home. My mom's bedridden. She got my mom together, and she said she was going to go to bed. That night my sister went home. She was not feeling well. The next morning she did not wake up. And I want to keep in mind, this is 2020. People are forgetting, and I don't know if everybody knows about what happened in 2020, because it was such a hard time, and a lot of people had depression, a lot of people lost loved ones, a lot of people didn't make it. But Amazon announced that they had their own COVID center. Jeff Bezos announced that he was going to have his own COVID testing center. Don't forget about that, Jeffrey. Let's see how you're going to get out of that one. So they announced that they had their own COVID testing center. So we were all like, well, what's going on? How is this happening? Who's going to be coming in to COVID test? Jeff had us doing it. Jeff had them doing it. And not only did he have regular Amazon employees COVID testing, he did it to save money. I just don't know why he didn't get a nurse or doctor to come in, or even have a trailer outside to, contract doctors and nurses to come in at least 1 or 2 days a week, or even on the weekends. I'm not quite sure what he was doing. I think he was going to the moon. But the next day, my sister did not wake up. And 2020 COVID is different than 2021 COVID, 2022 COVID, 2023 COVID. I want people to understand that there were times when people's family were going to the hospital and people were dying at home in their bed because they were scared, because they knew once they went to the hospital, they weren't going to see their families. People were going to sleep and not waking up in the morning because they had caught COVID, whether they were undetected or whatever. That's what I'm saying. You would get COVID on Tuesday, damn, you dead by Saturday. Come on. So at the end of the day, I have no clue what he was thinking. He'll never say what he's thinking, because it's so hard to get him in the court. He's running. He won't take the summons. So it's so hard to get him in the court to figure out what he was thinking. And anyways, they don't know Pushan. They never had any Pushan Brown work for their company. So I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking or why he was thinking. And I'm not. I think the lady that I think the lady that was head in safety department, they let her go. She stepped down October of last year. They were unhappy with how she handled the COVID and everything like that. I don't give a fuck who you fire, Jeff. I don't care who you fire. I don't care who you fire. I don't care if Andy gets fired, whoever. I don't care. My sister's gone and she's not coming back, and somebody's going to be held accountable. You can fire the whole damn team. I don't care. So she was allegedly let go last year.
Oh, Doug, before you share with her resources, because I think this is important. I know earlier you mentioned they offered some mental health support. Have you sought that? Who would you say is in your support system? Because we know you have no problem going against Goliath. I understand you're DC and I'm a Howard grad. I understand DC, the second home. So I already know the thoroughness is there and you have no problem going against Goliath. But Tina, how do you restore? How do you rejuvenate to get up to fight another day for your sister, for your niece, for your mother? How do you do that?
Well, let me tell you, they offer 6 weeks of counseling. They said we need to hurry up and use it because it would expire the first week in April. And I did not use their counseling. I didn't use their counseling because they had did enough for me. And what I was asking for, when I was nice in the beginning, and I was, oh my God, and I was nice. I didn't get shit back, but their advocates, they fired me after I didn't come back to work for my sister dying. Be happy that I didn't get you with a lawsuit, Jeff. Be happy that I didn't sue you for wrongful termination, Jeff. Don't worry about it. I think this will hold you down, until then. But I didn't take it. We didn't take it. My mom said don't take it. We put Gabby, we put my niece in counseling on our own.
Okay.
You know, because that was important. It's not, you know, I'm grown and my mom is, but I need to make sure her, because that's what matters right now. It's her. She's the only thing that matters in this situation. She's never going to see her mom again. She's going to miss homecoming, prom, graduation, college, marriage, everything. So, at the end of the day, we didn't take it. And then number two, you said, who was holding me down over here? Dr. Ashley, I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Okay.
People so wish-washy. They so wish-washy. You know, I was talking to Miss Kim earlier, and we were talking about this, and she was just, you know, she wasn't surprised. I could tell she was because a lot of us say that we're gonna do things, and a lot of us say that we're gonna be here. And I'm gonna tell you something. I knew a long time ago that this was gonna be something I was gonna have to do on my own, and I'm not mad at anybody. And I'm gonna tell you why, because it was my sister. Because everybody can say we support you. Oh, we're sorry to hear about Pooh, but that was my sister. Nobody gonna run this but me. Nobody gonna sit back and take these hits and listen to these lies and be threatened and be followed and be all of this by Amazon. You won't believe the things that they're doing to me. But nobody's not going to take that but me, and I'm okay with taking it, because it was my sister. It was my sister. Now, and I will take so much more. They have no clue. I'm willing to die for my sister, so it doesn't matter what you do to me. I'm okay with it. But I knew that this was going to be a fight that I was going to have to do on my own, and I'm okay with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay with it, because I have no other choice, Dr. Ashley. I have no other choice, and I'm okay with it, because I don't care what no man says down here. God has the final say. He has the final say.
Tina and Dr. Ashley, as we're getting close to wrapping this up, I'm glad that you have the opportunity. We gave you the platform, and use this link, use this podcast to further your cause. Up above me is Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. And I keep that picture dear and near to my heart, because we are all Black on the screen here. And we are not a people that give up. And there are some big companies out there that I know of that does a great job and has taken a lot of Amazon's employees because of exactly what you're talking about. We appreciate you coming on the show today. I am a life member of the NAACP National. I personally will make a call to the NAACP in Virginia to speak with them regarding your concerns in regards to lack of action for Black and brown workers of this employer. And what's the name of that employer again?
Amazon. Amazon.
Audience, you heard it here on the Black Business Roundtable. Dr. Ashley, can you help close us out with Tina Brown? And once again, your story, I'm sure, is not the only story like this. But you appear to be a tiger. And once again, sometimes you can mess with the wrong tiger.
Yeah. You know what, Mrs. Their lawyer, he's so it's every day, it's the intimidation, it's the threat, it's this, is that. That doesn't scare me. What scared me is when I had to dress my sister for the funeral. What scared me is when I had to pick her clothes out. What scared me is when I had to look my niece in the eye and tell her that your mom went up to heaven. That's what scared me. You understand that? That would scare me, and how I'm going to keep all of this shit going and keep this afloat. That's what scared me. This don't scare me. They have no clue who they have no clue. They have no clue. You know, they have no clue. I'm not scared. I'm not scared of them at all. I'm with everything.
Tina, let me say this to you, and we have the hashtag here, the Instagram handle @JusticeForPoushan Brown, #JusticeForPoushan and the email address for support, justiceforpoushanbrown@gmail.com. So we're going to keep track of this story. But Tina, to you, Black woman to Black woman, you deserve support. And even though people can be inconsistent, fickle, or limited, it's okay to let somebody support you through seasons.
Mhm.
And if you can't get it relationally in the camp, there are other ways to get that support in places where you can, which we so appreciate that you just did, open your heart,
Thank you.
for
Thank
your
you.
heart. And this is real. This is real, raw, and you are definitely holding the baton of her legacy. But I just want you to know that in your strength, you also deserve support. So I'll leave that there and be in contact with you. But we appreciate you so very much.
Thank you so much for
sharing.
having me. Thank you so much, Mr. Doug. Thank you, Dr. Ashley. Thank you
Keep
so
up the
much for
fight,
having me.
sister. Keep up the
Oh,
fight.
I will.
Mhm.
I will. Thank you so much. It means the world.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Ashley, that was powerful.
Mhm.
That was so powerful. There's so many companies out here
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
and there's some good companies.
Mhm.
And we probably in the near future will be pointing those out. But there are so many companies out here that take their employees as raw meat to eat. To that note, Dr. Ashley, can you take us to intermission? And we have our next guest backstage. And Dr. Ashley, audience, having Dr. Ashley on the show, especially now, giving that kind of advice to her, and you could feel her pain. I mean, you know, I can feel her fight too. But her pain, the advice that you gave her was invaluable. Thank you, Dr. Ashley.
Thank you, Doug. What a story. Thank you, Mr. Donnie Glover of BlackUSA.News for this platform where we can bring these narratives to life. Audience, be sure to tune into our sister programming. We have Chapin Friends on Mondays, Party Marty Let's Talk on Tuesdays. There's Black USA Crypto News with Kamal Hubbard on Fridays. Again, he knows all about blockchain and cryptocurrency. On Saturdays, there's the Blackout Live from New York. With Tashmir. And on Sundays, there's 60 Minutes in Black USA with Michael Haney. And if you haven't done so, check out last Sunday's episodes where you'll see yours truly and Doug talking about Black History Month and other important topics. To join our BB advertising family or to be a possible guest on the show, reach us via our email address, BBRT2021@hotmail.com. Include your company name, website, and contact information for vetting consideration. Doug?
I know we're running a little behind time, so we're going to immediately, and audience, please go fund me, Tina Brown, and help this sister because she looked like she reminds me of a pit bull. She's not going to let go. Audience, welcome for the first time on the Black Business Roundtable. Let's welcome our guest, Amos White. We met at the store literally as he was at election celebration. I literally asked if he wanted to be on the show, and it was a resounding yes. Also, an Alameda resident, we need to hook you up with Barack Obama Shaw that ran for mayor just last year and now governor, mayor of Alameda just last year, and now he's running for governor. Also, we want to thank you for taking the time out today, sir, to come on to the show. And we look forward to this great, because I've never seen a Black man in that profession. So this is going to be eye-opening for our audience.
Well, you'll be pleased. You'll be pleased to know I'm in some good company federally, though, at least.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Read this gentleman's bio, please.
Absolutely. Founder and Chief Planting Officer of 100,000 Trees for Humanity, a Black-led urban reforestation nonprofit. He created 1,000 trees in 2019 as a political and community climate action response to America's withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. Since its founding, 100,000 Trees has planted more than 500 trees and formed partnerships with the Sierra Club, American Forests, Cal Haas School of Business, Peralta Community College District, and others. Amos is known for taking on big projects and getting things done. He led the City of Alameda Town Halls and Immigration and ICE as lead organizer for the ACLU People Power Alameda, gaining the successful passage of the sanctuary law for Alameda. He spearheaded the movement to declare a climate emergency in the city of Alameda in early 2019, and for Alameda County with the passage of their resolutions. And Amos authored and leads the California Urban Greenbelt Initiative to plant trees for climate, equity, and for health in the 433 CA communities by 2030. Ooh, 433, let me specify. A lifelong public servant, Amos has served as political campaign staff for Barbara Boxer and Barbara Lee, and as legislative aide to U.S. Senator John Glenn, San Francisco Supervisor Terrence Hallinan, and Berkeley Councilwoman Margaret Breland. He received a Choral Fellowship in Leadership and Public Affairs. He was appointed to CAL FIRE's Urban Forestry Advisory Committee in 2021 and appointed to the Alameda County Agricultural Advisory Committee in 2022, where he serves as Urban Agricultural Chair. Creatively, Amos is a nationally recognized haiku poet and San Francisco Bay Area curator and cultural arts producer, a resident of Alameda, California, where he lives with his wife and 2 teens. Amos, we're so happy to have you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. And I see you guys did your Google homework really well on my
Let me tell you, Amos,
you didn't let anything slide there.
Our producer is one of the best producers in the nation. Mm-hmm. She does mm-hmm. her homework. Mm-hmm. And let me be clear here, audience. A fraction of the things I rarely understood what it meant, but we're going to get a clarification immediately. And I want to dive right into this with you, Amos. With not many African Americans, and I really mean that, with not many African Americans in environmental leadership positions, how did you begin your journey to become an environmental executive? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and thanks again for having me. And it really is enlightening following your show at all, and you guys really do great work in this production. So thank you again for having me. Only by fate I happen to be African American. There are many people who they don't consider themselves necessarily environmentalists. They don't consider themselves activists on behalf of the environment, but they're doing amazing work either as gardeners or master gardeners or backyard growers or growing trees, literally renegade nurseries. People, I can't tell you how many people since they found out that, I'm with 100K trees, just tell me they've been growing trees in their backyard and just planting them for years throughout the Bay Area. People understand the connection to the earth. People understand the connection and spirit that is really supported in supporting the earth and supporting the environment. And how many are people of color? Just to point out, the head of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Forestry Service is an African American. The deputy director, and head of all urban forestry in America, Thatcher Wilson, is African American, has been in the Forestry Service for over 25 years in the Southern Division. Just met leading the American Foresters Association, professional organization, an African American, former forester himself out of the North Plains states of the United States, African American brother. So I didn't know this, and not that I was seeking it out, but folk have had their hands in soil much longer than my tenure in this brief or this short nonprofit that we founded back in 2019. Many of us care for the earth, understand the climate imperative, and understand the linkage of this economic situation and the externalities of pollution, the externalities of carbon emissions and how that has all gone unchecked without first, point source controls on emissions. So we've got pollution in our communities, and predominantly ringing our Black and brown communities from West Oakland to, which is completely surrounded by 4 freeways and abuts the port. It is an atmospheric dump in that area. And without street trees, it has the lowest amount of street trees, which are the first line of defense in air filtration and in creating clean air. So people don't really get that. They just think these things are nice green lollipops that we all have when we grew up as kids, climbed and fell out of. That's true too. But trees are critical green infrastructure for public safety.
Wow.
And let me break in, Dr. Ashley. I have a question.
No, not doctor. My father was the doctor. I'm just a regular guy working for a living.
You sound like a doctor. I'm telling you, you laying it out there, brother, because trees are a natural filter.
Yeah.
Now, we have a friend of the show and Vice Mayor Rebecca Kaplan, who has fought for emission-free buses and stuff. Do you know her?
Yeah, I should say, well, as a colleague, I've watched her from afar, never really worked with her or done any projects. I, support her to the hilt with a lot that she's done for the community, just for the environment and overall as a civic-minded individual.
Please reach out to her and let her know that the Black Business Roundtable supports you, because she has created legislation and she's worked with AC Transit. Now she's the Vice Mayor of Oakland, and she is she's city council person at large. She may be a great resource for you in your endeavors to, once again, West Oakland. There are so many kids down there who have health issues as a result of a freeway on this side and the freeway on this side, and those trees. If they were, wait a minute, let me back up. I guarantee you, if there were white people living over there, it would look like a forest.
It'd be the most verdant and lush, and that's not. It's not blaming white people for wanting that. It's just the absence and having it be redlined and having it be, the Negro removal by putting in that freeway back in, I don't know if it was the 50s or the 60s when they put in 980 connector right there. And whose houses got removed, whose wealth was displaced, and ringing that community. You're absolutely correct. And a study was done here in Northern California in 2015. The results were released in 2015, 2016. And it was a study that showed per zip code, public health indicators are directly tied to the number of street trees, not the trees in the parks, not the trees in the hills, not the trees in your backyard or front yard, the number of street trees in the tree median, or called the mow strip, that strip between the sidewalk and the street. And they found per zip code, for every dollar, or for every dollar invested in a street tree, it returned $5.82 in benefits. And you're right, West Oakland has the highest rate of childhood asthma and emergency room visits in the Bay Area, and the third highest in the state. It has the lowest tree canopy. I think, what's that area called? The Eden area is second. Ashland Cherryland second. But West Oakland has a tree canopy between, depending on the most recent study I heard, 5%. Below 6% is considered a desert. 6 to 12% is, I believe, a prairie. 12 to 17% is a savanna. And then above that it becomes woodland. I think at 30 or 40% up around there in terms of how many trees, the density in the community is considered a forest, for an urban forest. Piedmont has the highest of the cities here in our East Bay. And
I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
Right.
I'm shocked you said
it's lush, and people understand. They
Mm-hmm.
understand the value of trees, the value of nature, and the correlation between nature and public health and mental health.
Yes.
You know, and it's not just you have to go hiking out in Tahoe or out in the rangelands to get away into nature. A colleague in where is he? He's in, I think, Spain. He's a professor of University of Ottawa in Canada, and one of the leading voices in urban forestry, and the founder and editor of Urban Forestry Journal, Cecil Kenyatic. Cecil Kenyatic, and he has a strategy which is the 3-30-300 rule. The 3-30-300 rule. Google it, and it shows that for good public health and for overall wellness in a community, from an urban planning and an urban design sense, every resident should be able to see 3 trees within 30 meters of their window, and be able to walk to a park or open space within 300 meters from their home. That's a 10-minute walk. He found that with those data points, that comprises the healthiest, if you will, urban community, by having that amount of greenery and access to nature and space. And the one key thing, and I'll tell you, somebody just emailed me about the correlation of trees and violence in our communities. People are like, well, what's trees have to do with violence? You ready? Tree-lined streets reduce traffic speeds. Get that. Reduce traffic speeds. Trees in our neighborhoods reduce domestic violence. Trees in communities reduce overall violence. And it's due to the fact, for many different factors, but one is a neurological response that we have to just seeing green or seeing trees. And it's called biophilia with an F, Biofilia. Biophilia is the response just by sitting amongst trees in your backyard, front yard, or in the forest, doesn't matter. Just being amongst green or seeing that green reduces the diastolic rate in your blood pressure. That's why you hear those Kaiser commercials, you know, we're no longer prescribing, you know, medicine or this, we're prescribing walks on the beach or to go sit in nature for as many as 10 to 15 minutes will reduce your blood pressure back to normal. That is a scientific fact, and we need to be following what science says for our health and for the planet's health.
Dr. Ashley, can you just briefly comment on the
absolutely. I'm diving in. First of all, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm on the edge of my seat. Amos, I'm a daughter of Oakland, California, but I'm in Los Angeles currently. And so as you mentioned, and you're spot on about the biophilia, we think about biofeedback, the autonomic and the paranomic nervous system, but absolutely the clarity of environment. Oftentimes our physical environments can mimic our internal environments or vice versa. So seeing green, hope, serene, calm, seeing nature, being able to be grounded, to be more mindful. There's so much research there. So I'm so excited, and just everything was firing off as you were speaking. It's really an access to resource issue. And I'm thinking about the kids in West Oakland who don't even make it to Lake Merritt.
Right.
Who don't even have the opportunity to really explore, like you mentioned, to know the parks in Montclair or Piedmont or even Roberts Park up, you know, by Skyline. And so, and then as you mentioned, the statistics on Piedmont, my mind went to, I wonder what the statistics on Atherton are and the other places across the bridge. And for our brothers and sisters who are in, you know, in San Francisco inner city and don't know the Tiburon and the Sausalitos. And so my wheels were turning and thinking about how to close that gap.
Well, I'm glad you point that out, and it has to do with geography, and it has to do with equity.
Yes.
The coincidence of that, and when you link or add into that place, and then pollution, you end up with what we call environmental justice. So, what is an environmental just framework to pursue, or what is an environmentally just, not just policy, but community? Because of, you say, access to resources. Everybody has access to resources. It's whether or not governments have the political will to first prioritize communities. Money's there.
Right.
Budget's there.
Right.
Whether or not
it's there for
people
Montclair and Piedmont. It's there.
Right. Exactly. It's there for certain.
In every community, I'm telling you, everybody's doing their work. Oakland is doing the work. Oakland's doing the work. It's a process. Government, we all know democracy is not pretty. But government is, it's a process, and I'm not excusing it. You like I said, you've done the homework. I've been a political activist, a campaigner for children, youth, families, civil rights. But it's government. Government takes the organization and pressure and voices, as we say, of the people. And government works best when the people show up and the people make their voices known how they want the government to prioritize. West Oakland needs 70 to 100,000 trees itself. Itself. Deep East Oakland needs its own 100 to 120,000 trees itself. Fruitvale. These are the most undertreed areas of Oakland. And they share two things in common. And the first is the freeway, the 880. And that's the number one source of pollution. Transit and transportation, 70% of all carbon emissions, 70% of all pollution comes from the transit system. And they're within 1 mile of it going down. Here's a good website for you and for all your viewers. I use two websites to establish what communities do we plant and where in the communities do we plant first, because we're planting the planet 100K trees for humanity. Urban Reforestation, we're a tree planting organization. We organize communities, we organize cities, we organize governments to plant trees for climate, for equity, and for health. And we do so by first focusing on where in the communities, based on this state website called Cal Enviro Screen, Cal Enviro Screen 4.0. Google it, Cal Enviro Screen 4.0, and click the link, and then click on the map, and then scroll to where Oakland is and zoom in, and then choose your factors of what pollution variables you want to screen for. And I just screen for the pollution, what's it called? PM 2.5, the particulate matter in the air, 2.5, which is the most common. And so when you look at that, West Oakland is like purple and black. It's a black thumbprint. As you get towards the hills, it gets nice and green. But right along the freeway corridors is a black strip all the way down through Hayward. And when you look off that corridor and look in the Fruitvale, you could see where the flows of air pollution move. And you can see when you correlate that with this second website, it's called, it's put out by American Forest. It's called treeequityscore.org, I believe, treeequityscore.org. And you put in your city name and it shows you which census tracts have the percentage of tree coverage. And the green ones are the most treed, and the ones that are yellow and brown are the least treed. And West Oakland, East Oakland, and the Fruitvale are your most under treed. And when you correlate those two, that's where you see with the health problems, right? With equity is just reprioritizing and making sure those communities get planted first.
Where does Piedmont and Montclair rank on that chart,
I mean, they're really green, and it's all right. It's not the whole. We're not holding communities accountable for being green. It's the fact that the antithesis of that, the whole below 580, the redlining for decades, and in some instances still occurs. I mean, here in Alameda, where I live, I think it was January 2021, it was reported in one of the East Alameda communities. There's a homeowners association. There are over 70 homeowners associations on the island of Alameda alone, or in the two islands of Alameda. And within the covenant of one of them that they extend to people who just buy in this community, most people don't even know there's a homeowners association, but when they get it, there was like language in there that still identified against Asians and Black people using, you could tell how old it was. It didn't say Asians, it said Orientals. Wow. Okay. And it specifically called out them and Black people, saying you cannot or will not, lend or sell to. And people called that out, and it took a couple of years, but they only removed that from the language only in the past 2 years. So, this is real. And to put things in other contexts, I happen to be working with Dr. Cindy Acker, who's the head of school of what is called the Child Unique Montessori schools. And she's also a playwright and right now getting huge acclaim for a play she's done on, it's called Words That Made the Difference, Brown versus Board of Education. She cast me in it. Unfortunately, I'm no actor, but she cast me in it, and I'm holding my own as Thurgood Marshall. But if you look at what's going on today, people feel like, yes, Plessy versus Ferguson, it overturned the whole separate but equal. That was next year, it'll be 70 years. 70 years, 1954. 70 years since that court case, right, was overturned by the NAACP, is led by attorneys Greenberg and Carter and Thurgood Marshall. 70 years, but only last year in January 2022, right here in the Bay Area, Marin Unified School District was forced by Supreme Court to desegregate its schools. Check that out online. Why hasn't that gotten press? That's the reality of things. We haven't really come so far. We're still working. The struggle is real. And who's planting trees in those communities? In Marin City, you have June Farmer and her group. Her name is June Farmer. And they're planting trees, and you can reach out to them and their organization. I think it's called Marin City Collective or Environmental Collective. In East Palo Alto and in that area, there's a group Canopy that's been planting trees. We're doing work out here. You've got a lot of groups focusing on environmental justice and equity, from planting justice to urban tilth and others. So it's, the work really does need to be focused on equity, but people need to show up and demand that the cities plant trees where they live. For climate, yes, but for equity and for health.
Before you ask the next question, Dr. Ashley, Mr. Amos, our audience is sitting at home scratching their head right now saying, we did not know all this stuff, because I didn't. But I do know that health has a direct correlation with the number of trees that are in a community and the health of our kids, our children.
Our mothers. And I'll tell you what, Nate Miley, I'll credit Supervisor Miley. His staff person brought me in on this when I was just getting started in 2020. Claudio Albana reached out and said, I see what you're doing. You keep on doing it. I'd like to have you meet. We sat down, and she really schooled me. And she says, I want you to know just a couple key things. And she got me to look at the Eden area. I didn't know anything about the Eden area, nothing. I just knew it's like a flyover. You drive through it to get out to the 5 when you're going southbound or going out to wherever. But it really got me into the Eden area and looking at it. And she said, the Eden area has, if not the Bay Area, in the East Bay, the highest number of prenatal teenage maternal deaths. And I had to think about that. I'm like, prenatal teenage maternal deaths. I'm like, dying in childbearing? And she goes, yes. I said, people still do that now? And she says, it's the highest. And I did research. I went deep on this. And there's a great study out of Atlanta that showed for every 400 trees planted, it saves a mother's life, an expected mother's life.
Wow.
Okay. That's the correlation for the amount of oxygen it provides, oxygen, and the amount of filtration it does for a community. And so when you look at the Ashland area, how undertreed it is, again, go to treeequityscore.org and just put in Alameda County for the city location, and it pulls up the Eden area, the unincorporated area. But click on the Ashland area and look at the tree canopy. I think it's as low as 12%, which is just a little bit higher than West Oakland. So when she told me that, and she told me what the heat index was in that area, you can even find that online. Urban heat in our communities, the highest. Right. It's just all asphalt, concrete, rooftops, and no trees. So you just have just a heat sink. All this just absorbing heat. So without those trees absorbing the radiation and reflecting it back, and then evaporating, if you will, it's called evapotranspiration. When trees transpire water, it actually creates your climate. Those microclimates you hear on the news, but nobody's ever known what it means. Microclimates are literally the climate that stays within and over your immediate vicinity. It doesn't travel off like the jet stream. That's your large water cycle, the jet stream. The small water cycle stays right in your area and recycles and keeps putting precipitation right where you are. 60+% of all local precipitation comes from your local flora, your trees. So the more trees you have, the cooler the community from the shade, but also the cooler the community from all that mist. One mature oak tree. One mature oak tree evapotranspires 400 gallons of water a day. That's a gallon every 32 minutes. So when you're at Safeway and you see those little misters come on in the produce section, and you're like, fresh. Like when you're out at the state fair or at a restaurant and it's really sweltering and those come on, that sucks out heat, latent heat, that humidity. It tracks the heat out of the atmosphere from 8 to 12 degrees itself. That's not shade. That's the effect of the water and moisture. Now imagine having 400 trees in your community. That's 400 gallons of water as environment, as your climate, as the coolness in the air every 32 minutes.
Wow.
So these are the benefits of our trees. These are the benefits that our communities are largely without.
Amos, I have been sitting on the edge of my seat. I am enjoying this. My neurons are firing at rates that I wish I could scan. I just want to interject and ask a question, but I really appreciate you explaining these very complicated concepts in lay terms. I'm would sign up for a class of yours easily, and the science nerd in me is just like really geeking out. But can you inform our audience about the Urban Greenbelt Initiative and how it will help California get out of this climate crisis?
So I came upon the idea that literally I was in a rut in fall of 2020 when we were all in the throes of COVID. The after hours of George Floyd protests in October, 100 days of contiguous smoke emergencies, going into an election not knowing if we'd have a democracy, let alone what the state-sponsored violence on Black bodies was going to be into the future. I was really contemplating a lot all at the same time. But I knew the single, and it's not a source of salvation, but that the one thing that I took solace in was a line from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And as the story goes, somewhere in 64, 63, a journalist went up to him and said, you know, they've thrown you in jail. They set dogs on you and fire hoses. They hang your people. How can you come out day after day and preach about the beloved community? And Dr. King paused and then said, if even I knew the world would end tomorrow, I'd still go out today and plant my apple tree. And that was the thunderclap. It's not that nothing else mattered at that time in 2020. It literally, I could take solace in the fact that what we're doing is about a green future. And that's when I said, what will the East Bay look like after we've planted 100,000 trees in every one of these cities? And I let my mind just float up 10,000 feet and just look down. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, the freeway, everything off it, it's going to look like one big green pill. And I said, it's not about a green belt around the city. It's about turning the city from inside out green. Be the green belt. And that's when I said, that's the movement we really need to carry forward. And then somebody said, oh, you've been studying Wangari Maathai. I said, who's that? And I had to go do more homework. Dr. Wangari Maathai, who has passed, the late Dr. Wangari Maathai, is the mother of the Greenbelt movement out of Africa, Kenya, Africa. 1977, she founded it as intersecting women's economic freedom with growing trees and planting trees, so that the trees provide the shade, so that water could be retained in the soil, so that trees could provide fruits and foods, and they could farm them. It became a sustainable economic and environmental initiative. She was awarded the Nobel Prize for her work and her advocacy to get government to focus on just that, the people, through an economic development, if you will, workforce development model. And that's literally where all this falls into place. The Urban Greenbelt Initiative is an initiative to get every city to commit to plant one new tree per capita resident by 2030. Why 2030? Because the United Nations scientists and the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Policy, the Intergovernmental Policy Commission on Climate, I think that's what it is, IPCC, says that we have to get over 1 trillion trees in the ground by 2030, or everything that has been happening to us, these extreme weather events, are going to be out of our ability to control them anywhere into the future. America needs to plant 68 billion trees. That's our share for what we need to reforest our cities and our forests and our open land. 68 billion trees. So to get the ball started here in California, we're getting cities to commit to plant one new tree per capita resident by 2030, to link tree funding not to carbon sequestration. Trees are going to sequester carbon. We can't control that. But we can control planting the right tree in the right place for climate, for equity, and for health. So we say we ask cities to commit to link tree funding to public health indicators. So we're impacting and reducing the amount of prenatal, teenage, maternal mortality in the Ashland area. We're decreasing the number of childhood and emergency room visits for upper respiratory diseases and eliminating the breath mobile. Why? That's a green future I want to see and read about in the newspaper, because that's when I know the trees have that impact. Now, that study I told you about in 2015, it shows that for every tree plant, it returns in investment, return on investment is $5.82, a 582% return on investment. That's not in 25 or 65 years when a tree has to grow and 200 years when you have a full forest. That's within 4 to 6 years. Why? Biophilia. Tree-lined streets reduce traffic speeds. We can plant trees down the street that doesn't have any trees right now. It has an immediate effect. So getting people to plant 1 new tree per capita resident, cities to commit to that, link the tree funding to public health indicators. We created a partnership with Dr. Jeanette Jackson, Chancellor of Peralta Community College District. Went to her, hand in hat saying, we have this initiative. We would like a linkage for tuition for anyone who gets hired underneath the 100K trees or as part of the Urban Greenbelt Initiative. She did us not 1, but 7 favors additional, where she said, this is what we're going to do with you. And instead of just giving us, that partnership, she had an 8-point partnership of initiatives she wants us to work with so that we can have link learning opportunities with our high school students, getting them to take classes while they're still finishing high school in the Peralta schools and get the credit and certificates. And also to have that workforce development training with on-the-job training that we developed a curriculum. And we're also working with, or not working, but hope to implement the American Forester curriculum as well in conjunction with our workforce development curriculum. But then linking that with classes at Peralta, now we are actually training the next generation of workers, that for the regenerative economy. And that's the sort of, if you will, workforce development program that we are putting in place with the Urban Greenbelt Initiative. So how do we plant 100,000 trees in 8 years? It was 8 years last year. It's only 7 years now. But with 8 years, that turns out per year, 12,500 trees a year. And people are like, oh my gosh, the city of Alameda only plants 300 trees a year and the city of Berkeley is only planting 700 trees a year. And I'm like, yep, let's do the math. Why? Well, let's go back to Africa. Why? Okay. You've heard the story. My friend, Tabo, says, hey, come over for dinner. We're going to eat an elephant. I'm like, oh, no, man, I can't eat an elephant. It's just too big. It's too much. He goes, no, come on over. And I'm like, no. The next day he says, hey, come over Sunday. My wife and the kids are having, we're having a plate to eat. I said, okay, I'll come over Sunday. And I have a plate of dinner and I go back. A couple of days go by and he says, hey, come over next Sunday. And I come over and I have a plate of dinner. And about 3 months later, I've been coming every Sunday. And one day it hit me again. I'm like, hey, Tabo, didn't you say something about we're going to eat an elephant? He just sits down, gives me a plate. He goes, here's your last plate. What we need to do is we need to break it down, bite for bite, plate for plate. 12,500 trees in a year. We have 12 months in a year. That's 1,100 trees a month. Actually, the math is off. It's 1,040 trees a month. We'll just say 1,000, 12,500. 1,000 trees a month. 4 weeks in a month, it's 250 trees a week. 5 work days. We know it's a crisis. Like during COVID, we threw everything that we had budget-wise. We knew what our priorities were. Safety of our residents, our communities, of our citizens. We threw everything at it. The government just flatlined, production schedules on vaccines. We had a vaccine in 10, 11 months, right? They said it was going to take 2 years just for trials to be done. And then another, who knows how many years for approval. FDA got it done in 10, 11 months. This is a crisis. We take care of it. We've done it before. FDR did it, right? With the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, brought us out of the Great Depression, right? And guess what he started with? Read up before the CCC, 8 years before. Founded in 1934. Roosevelt's Tree Army. How did we break the grip of drought and erosion of the plain states since we stripped all the prairie grasses away? Prairie grass has roots that go 12 to 20 feet deep. Your grass in your front yard goes about 3 to 6 inches tops. 12 feet, that's what anchored the soil and stores the greatest amount of carbon, even more so than our forests. But I'm telling you, we can do that. 5 days, 250 trees a week, that's 50 trees a day. We just planted in Alameda 40 trees just last Friday. 66 kids and adults from 4 different organizations came from Deep East Oakland, the Fruitvale, Cal Berkeley, Haas School of Business led it. We have a great partnership with them, Haas School of Business. Wonderful work they're doing, planting trees in our communities. But that's 40 trees. We got this. And so that's why we're really on top of this.
Amos, we see we're going to need a whole nother segment to wrap ourselves around, because what you are saying goes to the longevity of not only our children, but their parents. And we're running close to closing it out today. I'd like to ask you one last question.
Please.
How can cities or communities and faith groups or interested individuals get involved planting trees for climate in their neighborhoods? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of great things going on. There's an interfaith urban agriculture group that's holding a conference. I want to say it's March 8th in Preservation Park coming up. If people want to plant trees, it's as simple as this. Go to your local nursery, buy a tree, and plant it in your yard. Ask for a native tree. In the East Bay, that most commonly will be first a coast live oak, or a bay laurel, or a California buckeye, or a California sycamore, or a toyon tree. Those are some of the most common. But ask for a California native tree. We have a problem with our trees being in our ecosystem being negatively impacted by not having enough native species to support the wildlife through here, which enriches the environment. So ask for a native tree. Sign up on our website at 100K Trees for Humanity and learn when we're having tree plantings in your community at 100KTreesForHumanity.com. Up in Richmond, there's about 4 good tree planting groups doing work right now. Check them out. And Oakland has a couple as well in terms of people doing work on the ground. But the best way is to decentralize. If each person took responsibility to grow a tree in their tree strip, if you're missing a tree or if your neighbor is missing a tree on that front median tree strip, ask permission if you can plant a tree there. Go to the city's website for tree permits and just fill out the permit to plant a tree, and then see what species are recommended. Like I said, and coast live oak aren't the best for street trees. There are other varieties, and based on the width of your tree median, certain species are recommended so that the roots, first and foremost, don't push up the sidewalk or the street, and for the trunk to actually accommodate that space or grow into that space comfortably. But take initiative. Go buy a tree, plant a tree. If you live in an apartment or a condo that you don't own and you have a patio, go buy a fruit tree and put it in a pot and water it once a month. And that tree will thrive, and you'll have access to fresh food, and that reduces trips to the grocery store. So get involved and help become part of the Urban Greenbelt Initiative. And thank you so much for your time.
Mr. Amos White, audience, this is Mr. Amos White of Alameda, California. We have learned a tremendous amount of how trees not only beautify our neighborhoods and our community, but can be a health deterrent for bad health and air pollution in our community. Mr. Amos White, we look forward to having you back on the show
Mhm.
today.
Thank you both.
And
Thank you.
in the future, we look forward to you continuously getting that 100K tree in our community.
Mhm.
Thank you. Look forward to working with you on that.
We'll see you
And
soon.
thank you again.
We appreciate that passion. Keep it up. You fired. You got me fired. I'm ready to go back to stuff. City Council,
Right.
plant a tree. Plant a tree. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Dr. Ashley, can you, that man is fired up and ready to go and very knowledgeable.
Very, very. What a moving show of advocacy, whether it's a result of personal trauma or in preventative care. Advocacy is just so important, and I'm just really moved by our guests' passion and ready to take that into the therapy room. So I'm going to bring us on home so we can transition. But what a show, Doug, as always, and I'm grateful for being your teammate. Audience, as you can see here, we are so grateful for our platform. Here are some our friends of the show to follow on social media to keep tabs on what they're doing. There's Donnie Glover Official. There's at Black USA News 11, at The Busy Wife 2017, L'Objet Wines for when you need to relax, Johnny for Oakland, Black Farmland Owners Matter, so important, at Arc Republic. And again, Kaya, thank you for tuning into the show and using your platform to advocate for the farmers in Colorado. Also, we want to have a call of support for an Oakland native, community mother, and great-grandmother, a survivor of childhood seductive abuse by an older Caucasian male neighbor, where she became a mother at age 16 and was deprived of basic education during 10 years of cohabitation. 15 years of marital status, including an increasing coercive control, isolation, and verbal abuse before separation. A pre-separation French female associate, friend, confidant, instructor, and business partner, then turned attorney and accomplice to various forms of ID forgeries for certificates of notary, bank loans, mail, litigation, and pension, fraud abuse, wherein the abusers have multiplied in the form of government, public workers, and other professionals. The rest you may not believe, but they thought they were going to run over one of our matriarchs by deceit, fraud, perjury, lies, withholding and tampering with evidence, fabricating false statements, granting false privileges, and more to cut down equity and take the home estate. What happens to any of us better be in the business of all of us. And that's from Mamie Till Mobley, the mother of Emmett Till. And again, here, wanting to, I know that was heavy to bring up, and we don't have time to debrief, but we have heard, I just also want to invite our listeners to do some self-care after today, especially in hearing Tina's story, Pushan's story as well. And as always, we're keeping up with stories, asking our audience as always for help for Black History Month. Again, there's a new trial date coming, February 27, 2023. So we're going to keep using the Driving While Black Michael Thrash Taylor County TX hashtag. Doug, back to you.
As we close out, audience, you felt the passion of our guests. We're running with less than 2 minutes. I'd like to quickly give the last Black inventions: disposable syringe, corn planter, cotton planter, street sweepers, horse bridle bit, horseshoe, train alarm, image converter. Audience, this has been a powerful show today. The passion that our audience, that our guests have shared with you and us has been invaluable. Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us today. We return Thursday, March 2nd, 2023 with Elisa Victory with with Victory's Corner and a surprise guest. We look forward to seeing you every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time on the BlackUSA.News Network and YouTube and Facebook. Thank you, audience. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, together, we can listen, we can learn, and we can share because I know you care. This is Doug Blacksher and my sister, Dr. Ride or Die Ashley Coleman of the Black Business Roundtable. God bless, and thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week.